Welcome, responsible sports fans, to the latest Liberty Mutual Insurance Responsible Sports Hangout. My name is Matt, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with three-time Olympic gold medalist Karch Kiraly. Karch is currently the U.S. Women's Volleyball National Team coach, and he's joining us live from Southern California. Thanks for joining us tonight, Karch.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here and meet everybody.
We're also joined by the winners of our Hangout with Responsible Sports and Karch Kiraly contest. We learned a little bit about you, where you're from, and how you're involved with volleyball. We'll start with Andrew.
Right, Andy Dreisbach. I'm from Northampton, Pennsylvania, about a little over an hour north of Philadelphia. I'm an assistant coach with Revolution Volleyball Club with a 15 girls open team.
Thanks, Andrew. Bill? We couldn't quite understand you, Bill, but we'll come back to you. Bob? Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Brian Shands. I'm from Jinx, Oklahoma, which is a suburb of Tulsa. I've been a coach now for 12 years with Jinx Trojans. I'm an assistant varsity and junior varsity coach, and I also coach club volleyball with Team Tulsa.
Thanks. Aaron?
Hi, I'm Erin Little. I'm from New York. I played college volleyball, and now I'm playing overseas in Finland.
Ryan?
I'm Ryan Sneaky. I'm from Sellersville, Pennsylvania, like an hour northwest of Philly. I've been playing for 5 years now, and playing beach for a couple of years now. So, a lot of playing this year.
Thanks, Ryan. Scott?
My name's Scott Branson. I guess I'm your third Pennsylvania here, out of Horsham, Pennsylvania. I've been coaching for about 6 years now. I'm currently coaching a 17th team for Highline Volleyball Club, and I'm also one of the new assistant volleyball coaches for Penn State Abington.
Thanks, Scott. We had Bob join us again. Bob, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how you're involved with volleyball? And it seems Bob may have dropped off again. Well, I know our guests are eager to ask Karch questions, so we'll go ahead and we'll get started with Andrew. Do you have a question for Karch?
I do. Coach, I believe practice must be used to prepare players for what they should expect to see and feel in competition. So a lot of stuff in practice being situational. In general, do you believe we as coaches tend to overcoach in competition and not allow the players to kind of take from their learnings and figure things out for themselves? I kind of believe confidence would be gained and satisfaction achieved if the players can kind of figure things out for themselves.
I guess I see a couple of big pursuits in our gym and pursuits for our athletes, and I don't see it all that different in any other gym. But part of our job as a big part of our job as coaches is to be teachers, to help people, help our athletes learn to solve the problems. And for example, when the other team is getting ready to serve, the serve's going to come over the net, and that is the problem, and we're trying to give them as many solutions to that problem as possible. But part of every practice, lots of practices for me, has to be on, I guess, focusing on getting better. How do we improve our technique? How do we improve our tactics? It's kind of a learning component, a mastery component, not unlike a little bit if somebody were to practice a martial art. Part of their time in the dojo, they're spending working on perfecting their moves and their technique and trying to become cleaner and trying to become more efficient mechanically. And then, of course, we have to battle, because ultimately in volleyball, that's what we're doing. We're competing, and we need to compete with fierceness, with ferocity. And so we want to provide an opportunity in every single practice to be able to learn to stretch and be operating at the edge of our ability levels. If we're not operating at the edge of those ability levels, we're not learning fast enough, we're not risking making mistakes and getting uncomfortable, because learning is an uncomfortable process. So we have to be able to spend some time every day being uncomfortable and pushing ourselves at the edge of that ability level. And then we also have to be able to battle together and play a lot of what looks like volleyball, 6-on-6 type activities. So we try to have some of each most days, and of course maybe some of the best learning even takes place if we can give quick feedback and not interrupt the flow too much and jump in and jump out. But some of the best feedback is actually during the 6-on-6, because that process where we look like we're playing volleyball, and we are playing volleyball, anything we learn during that process is actually going to be some of the best learning, because it most applies to what we're trying to do in the evenings and in a match with a referee and a uniform on, is try to have that transfer be at a maximal level. And so some of the best learning can take place within the course of 6-on-6, and the more ways we can facilitate in our athletes problem solving, then they'll be able to go on their own as they need to. We coaches are sitting on the bench and we're cheering them on, but ultimately they need to solve that problem. And the problem might be a serve coming over the net. The problem might be an attack from an opposing hitter. It might be a setter putting the ball over on two. All of those kinds of things.
Before we go to our next question, I'll make sure, Karch, do you see yourself in the camera? We feel like we may have lost your visuals there.
Let's see. Why would it... it says somebody opened capture. I guess I'll close that. Here we go. Am I better now?
Yep, there we go.
There we go.
Ryan, you have a question for Coach Karch?
Yes. How much emphasis do you put on practicing fundamentals in your practice?
We work on some of that just about every day. We feel some critical parts of our game are serving and passing. That's such a cliche. You ask any coach at any level, what's going to be the key to tomorrow's game or tonight's game? Well, we got to win the serving and passing battle. And that's a critical part from 10-year-olds on up to the Olympic team playing for a medal in a medal round in London or in Rio in the Olympic competition. So we spend time every single day on our serving, on our serve reception, on things like being slow to fast with our feet and accelerating in to be the most efficient hitter that we can be mechanically. And so we try to build parts of practice in just about every day in the USA gym to those kinds of activities. We do a lot of things where we log speeds actually of the serve, and we're trying to help each of our athletes find their optimum speed, the speed at which the ball will go in a lot, but they can hit a good assertive serve to the right area of the court, get some movement on it, put some people in under stress. Every day we spend significant time serving, significant time passing, because we face a lot of good servers in all the opponents that we prepare for, and lots of the other fundamentals too. Every area we try to give some, and it might be more focused one day than another, but we want to give some focus and add these layers, so it's kind of like building from the foundation. And some of the foundations are the techniques, the skills of volleyball, and then we start putting them together in more of a team, maybe small groups at first, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, but eventually work up to 6-on-6 volleyball. The small groups help them get more touches on the ball to focus on those same techniques in the course of seeing something that looks like a hitter, seeing something that looks like a server.
Thanks. Aaron, do you have a question for Coach Karch?
Yeah. What did you do like every day in the gym, just trying to get better to become the athlete that you are today?
Well, the athlete I am today is nothing like the athlete I used to be, and that's okay. I don't want to be that athlete anymore. That hurt too much. So, So, but when I was in the gym, when I was with the USA team for from 1981 till 1990 or so, almost 10 years, we were dedicated to, and I was dedicated to doing everything I could. I guess I had three pillars to my career, and they were, number one, just relentless preparation. And implied in that is this concept of giving as much effort as I possibly could on any particular activity. I had forgotten about it years ago, but a buddy of mine remembered a drill that we did. I was actually on a junior national team when I was much younger, as some of our athletes now used to be on junior national teams and work their way up through the USA high performance pipeline. But I was playing on a junior national team. My buddy was on the team, and I'd completely forgotten about this. But our coaches had us do some drill that, when I think about it, had very little to do with volleyball or very little transfer. We were to stand facing a wall about 4 or 5 feet away, and our partner would be over our shoulder behind us, and he would throw the ball into the wall, and we'd have to react to it. It was kind of a hitter coverage type of thing. Mm-hmm. How much relationship is that to volleyball? Not a lot. We don't ever face a wall to play volleyball. We don't ever see a situation where there are no hands. But anyway, most of the guys on the team were like, "Oh God, this is stupid. What are we even doing this for?" And then they look over and they see Karch just telling his partner, "Throw it harder, throw it harder." Like, hey, if we're gonna do this, might as well try to make it of some value and give it the effort that I feel I can to honor our program and our team and our sport and my teammates. So preparation was a big part of it. Also, like I said, just about teammates, how do I make those around me better? How do I elevate the play and the performance of those around me? Because I always felt like it was rare for me to have all of the parts of my game going. I would love to have all the parts of my game going, but that almost never happened. But what I could do is, if a big focus of mine, and it was, is if I could help all of the other players around me to play at or near their best, then it almost didn't matter what I was doing, and it didn't matter if I was struggling that day with my attack or my serve or some part of my game or parts of my game were working so much. So if I could make the focus out there more, it took some pressure off of me to be able, because I put a lot of pressure on myself to perform, but elevating the play of those around me is a nice thing. How do I help them play better? That's a good conversation for athletes to have, for players to have. Literally, how do I help you play better this next rally, this next game, this next match? And in some ways, it's almost like just how do I make my teammates look great? If I can just help them play well, look good out there, then good things are going to happen, and they're going to feel better about themselves. And it takes my focus off of me and whatever. I'm going to dwell less on the negatives that are happening in my game at that moment. So relentless preparation, elevating the play of those around me, and just focusing on the one thing. That's cliche too, but focusing on the one thing that we really can have an effect on. And that is, it takes a special breed to play competitive sports. It's not for everybody, and it takes a special breed as you work your way up and the expectations go higher. But we can do everything right as a team, as an individual, and still lose. That's kind of scary. We're risking it. We're putting it on the line every time we go out on the floor with our uniform on. And and the other thing that we want to avoid is the pain of losing. The difference between the joy of winning and the pain of losing is a big emotional difference. It's a big pain level difference. And we don't have ultimate control over that. We don't even get to guarantee that we're going to win the next play, let alone the next 5 plays, the 25-point set, or the match. So all we really can do is maximize our chance of winning the next play. And if we do that in a smart way, in a dedicated way, in an effortful way, then we have a pretty good chance of winning matches. We still can't guarantee anything, but if over and over we focus on maximizing our chances, not guaranteeing, we can't make any guarantees, but maximizing our chances of winning this next play, then we're going to be in pretty good shape. Not many teams, not many athletes can do that consistently over and over, and that's where a lot of success is found. In my book, as an athlete, and I try to teach that to other athletes and to teams.
I think those are all great aspects that translate more than just volleyball. Those apply to any sport and any athlete, really. So
and outside of sports too. If I'm working, I have a business setting and I'm doing things to elevate the play of those around me in that business setting, or the performance of those around me, then that can be an effective thing too. And why not? If we're going to be in it together, let's see how far we can go. Very true.
Scott, do you have a question for Coach Karch?
Sure. Thanks for giving us this opportunity, Karch.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I guess as far as like practice and everything, every single time we go into it, I know a lot of practices focus on the skills, the techniques, and whatnot. But I'm finding as the ages get, going up in the scale from 13, 14, 15, the mental, psychological aspect of the game is starting to play a pretty big part as well. Do you have any particular cues or game-like drills or something that you could suggest that might help players understand this aspect of the game a little bit more?
I don't know if I have any drills or cues so much per se, but so much, you are right, so much of higher performance at any age, at any skill level, of performing better tomorrow than we did yesterday is what's going on in our heads. And there is no rule in volleyball that says that if I hit a couple balls out or if I make a couple bad plays that I have to go and default right to I will never hit the ball in again or I will never get a kill again. But lots of people, so a lot of it is just we get to choose our thoughts. And we only get to think about one thing at a time, but if we can put a better thought in instead of a more negative thought, a more positive thought, we can immediately affect our performance. And if we put negative thoughts in, our mind and body hears that too, and it can drag our performance down. It can affect our body language, and now it starts affecting those around us. So not only is it critical for me to try to keep positive thoughts just for my performance, but I can infect my team with positive thoughts or negative thoughts. Either way, I can infect them and affect our team's performance. And that's one of the beauties of volleyball is it is a team game. It's one of the prototypical or archetypal team games. We are so dependent on each other, and nobody gets to hold on to the ball and dominate a game like a basketball player might be able to dribble all the way down. And so that's one of the things I love about this game is we are so dependent on each other. But we can have a real impact. I was reading an article from Coach Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K from Duke, the men's basketball coach there, and he was talking about, he's coached a couple of Olympic men's basketball teams now, and he was talking about one of the things he looks on video at with his teams, and he was doing it, I can't remember if it was at the London Olympics or the Beijing Olympics, but he was looking at some video, and he looked at Kevin Durant sprinting down the court, and he said, look at that, guys. Look at that strong face he has, this dominant, intent, focused look that Kevin Durant has. And so then he asked one of the other guys on the team, he said, so when you see Kevin Durant look like that, what are you thinking? And the teammate said, I just think we're going to win. He's going to put the ball in the basket, and we're going to win. And so Coach K then said, look, Kevin, do you see how powerful that is? Do you see how much power you can have, how much influence you can have just in your body language, but of course your body language also reflects your thoughts. So a lot of it is trying to get better thoughts or a single better thought in there, and making sure to try to, I don't know, have shoulders back and chest out and head up, and I'm not drooping, and I'm getting back to the huddle quickly. I'm not moping around on the floor or turning my back on my teammates or yanking on the net or exhibiting signs of frustration. Those are all things that we can control, and they not only influence how I'm going to do on the next play, but maybe even more importantly, what my teammates are thinking and what they're going to be able to do or not do on the next play.
Great answer. Thanks for that. Ryan, you're up next. Do you have a question for Coach Karch?
Coach, one of the aspects of the game is the ability to read a hitter, and I feel like that's not coached a whole lot. I feel like that's just kind of taught through play. Do you have any drills or advice as to how to predict or how to read a hitter and how to predict what's going on the other side of the court and how that's going to affect your team?
So it was a little difficult to understand, but what I think you're asking was, how do you predict what's going on the other side of the net, and how do you, position yourself for that?
That's what I think I heard also, so we'll go with that. That was I guess one of my competitive advantages as a player for several decades is that I got an early start in the game, and there was little across the net that surprised me. And I guess I think some people call it volleyball IQ, some people call it reading ability, some people call it anticipation. Ultimately, to me, I think of it as kind of this skilled real-time pattern recognition. And at the start of every play, all is possible. I don't know if I've seen everything yet in volleyball. I've seen a lot yet, but there are always surprises out there. But at the start of any given play, anything can happen. The serve can go anywhere in the gym. The pass can go anywhere. But every tenth of a second that goes by, the possibilities start funneling down quickly and reducing quickly from many to few. And so by the time the opposing hitter is contacting the ball, if I've been able to watch the right things and first of all maybe get a good look at the setter to have a good idea where the ball is going, and then a good look at the hitter. So many hitters are what we call shot committed. If the ball goes inside, the hitter will often hit cross court, just because most hitters can't do anything but go that way and hit that way. If the ball goes more toward the line, then lots of hitters get committed toward hitting that line. And so if I can see some of those things, I have a much better sense of probabilities of what's going to happen. So one of the best ways to help our players see better is just give them lots of exposure, for one thing, to more game-like situations. And maybe it's playing some 2-on-2 volleyball, so they get to have to cover a little more court, or maybe you cut the court size down, but still it's only 2 players on the court, and I've got to figure things out. There's a hitter over there. There's only a teammate on over here and me, and between the two of us, let's figure out how we read this situation and put ourselves in a position. Ultimately, we're just trying to get hit by the ball. If we can make the ball come to us, then we can play volleyball. If we never see enough to figure out how to get the ball to come our way on defense or as a blocker, then we're not going to be very successful. But I need to see those things over and over. So we need to give our athletes lots of exposure to things that look like a server, look like a hitter, look like a setter, the things that we have to react to across the net a lot. So let receivers, seeing lots, serve receivers, passers, let them see a lot of game-like serving. Let blockers and defenders see a lot of what looks like hitting. And so that's why you probably, if you were to come in our gym, you would almost never see people on a box hitting at our blockers or defenders. We've spent very little time on that because we don't feel there is as much transfer to that activity. I've watched a lot of volleyball for over 40 years, closer to 50 now, and I've never seen somebody on a box in a match. I've never seen a coach hitting in a match. I've never seen a coach serving in a match. And so we try to get it to be much more player-initiated so that they will see their peers making actions much like they'll see in a match. Every time I'm hitting a ball to an athlete, I'm depriving that athlete of the opportunity to see something that they'll see in a game, and they won't see me hitting in a game. And so that's why we tend to try to make things look much more like a game, and we play small group games so they have lots of opportunities to read and to try to figure out the hitters. One fun or one activity that we'll do a lot is we play a lot of deep court volleyball in the USA gym, which could be 3 defenders in the backcourt against 3 defenders in the backcourt. You could add a blocker or 2, so it could be 4-on-4 with 1 in the front row and 3 in the back. You could add 2 and have 2 blockers in the front row and 3 in the back, but still making a lot of the attacking come out of the back row as the play continues. And then what we do is we add the main thing we do is just add a bonus, so that if I am an attacker out of the back row and I jump and I hit and I put any kind of an off-speed shot down, a tip, a roll shot, anything that's half speed or less, and I get that to the floor, not only do I get the point for winning the rally, but I get an extra point. I get a bonus point. The other team knows it, and I know it, so they have to try to be more keyed in and cued in on the things that so often give away what is an off-speed shot, what is a tip, what is a roll shot. There are certain things that people give away, and we can show our athletes, our players, that as coaches. Lots of hitters don't get their elbow all the way back or their shoulder all the way back, or so often when they go to tip, the ball, when they jump, the hand just goes straight to the ball, and that's a big giveaway. But if I'm focused only on the ball, I'm not going to see that. So we can do some things to demonstrate to our athletes, and also in terms of bonusing and rewards and punishments for trying to encourage more different situations to come up. Hard hits, off-speed hits, and give our defenders, our blockers and defenders, chances to see that in live action. You need lots of chances to do that. It doesn't happen overnight, but when they accumulate those hundreds and thousands of opportunities to see and read, they get better at it. And if you can do an extra 10 minutes every day over your opponent, if you all spend an extra 10 minutes a day on that activity versus the exact equivalent team in a different gym, then every week or so you gain about an hour, and over the course of the season you gain hours and hours of extra exposure, and that all adds up. It might not show right away, but the learning is taking place, and by the end of the season they'll have a significant advantage in how they see the game, and of course you're trying to help them see the right things, look at the right things.
Thanks, Coach. Bob, we'll check out and see if you have a question for Coach Karch here.
Yeah. First, thanks, Matt and Liberty, for making this possible. This is great. I'm coaching a U16s team. I'm actually at a hotel in Philadelphia before an NEQ, so I've got a match tomorrow, and I've got my questions on the mental side as well. And I wanted to find out what goes on inside your huddle at the Brazil versus U.S. in London after the first set. What do you tell them? And then what would you have said to your teammates if you were in a similar situation? And I'm trying to get girls to finish matches sooner instead of letting matches go to 3-game sets. Try to finish it off in 2 and letting these opponents come back into the game. So any advice, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. First of all, good luck tomorrow. Hope it goes well. It's always a new day, always interesting to see what you're going to get. You never know, and it doesn't matter how old or young your athletes are. It's always an adventure, and that's part of the fun and the challenge of coaching. But I didn't feel great after that first game in London, beware the easy first set win, the easy first game win. I don't like it. I would much rather lose badly than win badly. It just can give a little bit of a false sense of security, and I'm not even saying that our athletes felt secure, but 25-11 was not at all representative, clearly, of how good that team was and how good we were, and all I was thinking was, yeah, we played pretty good volleyball, but they hit out 9 times and served out 9 times. But it's not like they hit out and served out into the bleachers or into the sponsor banners. They missed by 6 inches here and a foot there, and they were taking good assertive swings, good aggressive swings, but just missing. So that's the time to redouble, and I would probably, if I had to go back again, I'd probably just emphasize how we have to redouble our efforts and be ready, because so often a team that loses the first one comes storming back. If it's 2 pretty evenly matched teams, that team that lost is mad. They're mad at themselves. They're hungry to get back in this match, and they come at you with a vengeance, and we have to be prepared for that. So I would probably emphasize that more, and I always keep it in my own mind that easy win can contribute to a tiny bit of, I guess, a little bit less sense of urgency. And then another point you brought up was when you're ahead in a volleyball game or in a set or in a match. It's actually more often than not probably a little easier to play from behind than from ahead. Once you get a few points ahead, teams start thinking, boy, we could actually win this match, or thinking we're expected to win this match, and there's some dirty work, some ugly, nasty, it's kind of like being the plumber and just having to make sure the job gets done. It's a dirty, nasty, ugly job to finish a volleyball game against a good opponent. And it sometimes is easier to play from behind than from ahead. So that's where we just have to roll up our sleeves and be more willing to get to the work earlier. It's not so much that teams, I don't really feel like teams get overconfident. It's just that it's hard to finish. It's almost hard to be, if you coaches can easily relate to this, but if it's really evenly matched and you, let's say you're up 24-23 and the other team is serving, I think a lot of teams and a lot of athletes are thinking, boy, this is our one shot. We've got to do it right now, and if we don't, we might lose out. This is our one chance to close this out. So there's actually, in some ways, lots of athletes and players are going through this mental thing of putting more pressure on themselves if they're up 24-23 than if they're down 24-23. So it takes a certain mentality to be willing to roll up your sleeves and just say, yeah, we're gonna go after this. And if we don't get it, we're gonna get another chance. Well, let's say we don't turn it at 24-23. It's still critical that we come back hard the next one, because if we win that point, now we can be up 25-24, and we can be serving. It's not as good as if we're receiving, but we can be serving and still have the advantage. So we have to, again, kind of reframe it and look at the bright side. But a lot of people go to this thing, or if maybe we're a slight underdog, they might think, whoa, this is our only chance to beat this good team. We have to do it right now, or we're never going to get another chance. And that leads to poorer performance. So we have to kind of reframe it and just say, yeah, it is a nasty, ugly job. It is hard to finish out against a good team. But when we're down, they're feeling the same thing when they have a little advantage, and there's even a little advantage in knowing it and acknowledging it and recognizing it. It's a little like being in an if you're in the pool with a buddy and you have, it's like you're in the pool with somebody and you're having a a breath holding contest underwater. But you know it and they don't. All you have to do is outlast them by a little bit, and as soon as they pop up, then you pop up a second later and you've won. So I guess that's what I make it a little bit of an equivalent to, or a little bit of an analogy with, is if we can acknowledge that, yeah, it is hard work. It's hard to close it out against a good team, against a well-matched opponent. Just by talking about it a little, I think it lowers the expectations and the pressure that athletes sometimes put on themselves to just think, we have to do it this play, or all hope is lost.
Thanks. Jeremy, you're up next. Do you have a question for Karch?
Yeah. First off, I really want to thank you for this opportunity. This is completely amazing that we actually get to do this.
Awesome.
But I started playing volleyball back in 2002, and unfortunately, while I was playing, I broke my elbow. I have a 135-degree. That's my full extension right there. And basically, I can no longer pass. I can no longer set. Like I did 3 years of collegiate club volleyball here at Liberty University, and now I'm doing collegiate beach volleyball. It's our first season. And as a blocker and as a setter, I'm having the hardest time setting the ball. And with I have about 135 angle extension with my left elbow. And how would you go about, like, with drills or anything like that? Like, because I'm just trying to get a good sets now.
An interesting problem. When I was, I think, let's see how old, I think I was 7 years old, and I guess I got the lucky end of the break. You got the unlucky end, but let's see if I can show. Let's see. My elbow goes backwards.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
More than 180, which is actually, it's disgusting. I apologize for exposing you all to that. but in fact, it helped me, the opposite of what you're struggling with. It helped me form a better platform because I can put my elbows together. So I can relate to you in the sense of being fortunate enough to have something different happen to my elbow. I have seen some very good volleyball players over the years who were particularly muscle-bound, or they didn't have, they had really tight joints. They didn't have quite the 135 that you're talking about, but I've seen some athletes who could not get their elbows close to straight, and they would just pass with a platform where their elbows were close together, but their elbows were not straight. So kind of a bent arm platform.
Okay.
And I've seen one of the great beach volleyball players of all time was a guy named Ron Von Hagen, and he never really got his elbows straight, but he spent a lot of time getting elbows together and having a platform that was obviously you have to do some compensation for that when the platform is not all straight, but having spent enough time at it, he was able to put a good platform together and not have a lot of space between his upper forearms, between the left and the right. And so that was a key for him, is to try to minimize that space and still have a long or a wide, a big amount of surface area that is angled in the right direction. I'm assuming that when you say that you're having a little trouble setting overhead, it's because when you straighten, one arm goes straight and the other can't go straight.
Actually, it's more with the bump sets. Like with beach volleyball, with new rules, you can't have one full rotation with it, so we primarily focus on bump sets. But even with bump sets, I find that I have no control of the ball. It usually goes over the net, or it's just really, really close to the net.
Yeah. Well, I guess another thing that, of course, you're going to have to take account for the wind and for lots of other variables there, but that was one of the great lessons for me in beach volleyball, is just the fact that our team is so much better off if I put my teammates 6 feet away from the net, but on our side of the net, we're so much better off than if I put it 6 inches over the net or a foot over the net. There's a real premium on letting my partner take a swing at the third contact, and so that would be a focus point for me is, if I were you, is not to try to make the perfect set. In our gym, even today in the USA gym, we had some passers working, and we were working on keeping the ball, the pass, 3 to 5 feet off the net, giving our setters some space so that they can run our offense. If we put the ball too close to the net, and we aim to a spot very close to the net, then a certain number of those that we miss and go too far are going to go over the net, and those are almost always automatic points for our team. So if I were you, I'd focus on trying to work from off the net and slowly work the sets closer to the net, and just be happy with 10 feet off the net, 9 feet off the net, and start honing in and accounting for the wind and things like that in terms of slowly but surely maybe getting to the point where you're setting to 4 or 3 feet off the net and giving your teammate a chance to swing at something, especially when you're playing beach volleyball and or doubles volleyball and there's only 2 players across the net. You got a much better shot still at winning the point. Even if your hitter's 10 feet off the net, there's lots he can do with it to try to score the point and help you win that next play that's so critical to focus on.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
Sure.
This is a very unique situation, and if anything, we'll walk away from this learning that Coach is a very unique and special player. Which is
both of us with our elbows. We're elbow brothers.
Yes.
So we have time for just one more question. Andrew, would you like to ask Coach another question?
Sure. Yeah. Do you have any tips in regards to like motivation, whether it be for like a team as a whole or even an individual player, where like they start a season or even a match for that matter, competing at the high end of their potential, then slowly start to like digress and start competing at the lower end of their potential? Can you shed any light on to how we can help them kind of slowly get back into like their higher end of their potential?
I guess one of the things that we try to do for our athletes is lay out some standards, some observable, measurable standards. So, for example, we're early in the process, but we're going to try and lay out, based on all we've learned in the last quad and previous quads, but lay out for our athletes, okay, if we want to go win a medal, a gold medal in the Rio Olympics, here's the level that we have to perform at. Here is the level. We take some statistics, obviously. We take more than some. We take a lot. But even at your level, if you can take some rudimentary statistics, and maybe it's just some passing numbers and hitting numbers, but what we do is just say, okay, our passers are going to need to perform at this level. Or you could say that in your division or in your high school league or in your high school JV league, for our team to meet its goals or to reach this level, to be 20-10 this season if we were 15-15 the last season or whatever it is, these are the standards we believe that we need to have our athletes, our players performing at. And so here's the standard, and here you are, and so you are this far behind the standard, or you're just a little bit behind the standard, or maybe more importantly, here's the progress you're making to get close to the standard. Those are things that I found motivating as an athlete, and we use as motivational tools for our athletes. We'll be giving them some very simple sets of statistics, for example, at the end of the week. Okay, here's the standard we're trying to meet. Here's how far you were from it this week. Look at the progress you've had. 3 weeks ago you were at this level, and now you're at that level, and you're making progress. You're actually coming closer to that standard that we feel we need from you for this team to perform in the way we want it to. And if, as you say, some of the performance is going down, that's motivation too. It's like, hey, look at how close you were to this standard, and now you're hitting much less efficiently, or you're passing much less efficiently. Maybe we need to spend a little, here are a couple of keys. We need to work on these things. You can be a really valuable, have a tremendous impact on this team's performance. I'm here to do whatever I can as a teacher and a coach to help you get back to the level you were before, and even beyond, and even higher. And so what we're trying to do is kind of give some feedback and some results, some measurements of how our athletes are doing, how they are in comparison to the standard, and maybe most importantly, how they are in comparison over time. Am I getting better? Am I getting closer to meeting the standard? Am I dropping? What maybe technical changes do I need to make? Things like that. But I feel like giving them that kind of feedback, that observable, measurable feedback, not so much in terms of, all right, well, here's you and here's Sally and Judy and Jesse over there, and they're passing better than you. It's not a comparison with other athletes. It's just me against me, and how do I get better over the course of time? Because each of us, me's on this team, needs to be getting better and learning and getting more toward, I guess, mastery of all of these skills. So that's one of the things we try to do, to give them some tools to not so much ultimately, a lot of the motivation for USA athletes has to come from within, intrinsically. There's only so much I can do, and of course they are very motivated. Just to get to the USA gym, they had to have great motivation to make the sacrifice and the effort to even get good enough to be in that gym. And so we're just trying to give them some tools to continue motivating themselves in an effort to continue to get better, which is even more important, to get better to help the team perform its best.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. That's all the time we have for today. Before we get going, though, we want to thank our audience at home for watching. We want to thank all of our guests here for participating. We actually have Coach Bell here. Would love if Coach Kiraly, could you give a shout out to the Voltage, who have a game tomorrow?
All right. Hello, Voltage. Good luck tomorrow, and good luck the rest of the season.
We appreciate that. We also know that Coach Kiraly is joining us on a very special day, so if you'd like to give this time to shout out to someone close to you, we'd appreciate that.
Our son's, we're just about to go out to dinner. It's our son's 21st birthday, and that's a big one for him. And then a great, not only will we have a nice family celebration with him, but a great friend of mine, Tom Pestalacy, who is the one I mentioned from that story from the junior national team. It's also his birthday today, so it's a big day for friends and family, at least in the Kiraly household.
So from all of us at Liberty Mutual, thanks again for joining us, especially on this special day. We also want to thank our partner, USA Volleyball. If you want to learn more, visit usavolleyball.org, and also be sure to visit responsiblesports.com for great insight and videos on some of today's sports industry leaders. That's all we have for tonight. Until next time, have a great night.